Brandon, how you doing?
Anthony, I'm doing so good, man.
I
So
know
good.
you are. I know you are. And I'm doing so good. I get to hear your story. Obviously, I've seen it, but all the things that were going on in your head and in your experience throughout the journey, I finally get to reflect with you. So, shall we talk about how you got into drama school?
Let's do it, Anthony. Let's do it.
By the way, what drama school are you going to? Talk to us about the degree. Talk to us about where you're going.
In 3 months, roughly 3 months, I will be going to Winston-Salem because I'm going to UNCSA for my BFA. 4 years. I cannot wait. So hyped, Anthony. So hyped.
So hyped. You are hyped, man, and I've loved your energy ever since we started working. You've always been like, dude, give it to me straight. Let's go. I'm ready to work. You sometimes would call me and you'd be like, I've got this monologue. I want to read this out loud.
Mhm.
What do you think? Right? And then we totally switch directions and you'd be like, screw that. I'm going
Yeah.
with this. There was so much you've just got such great like goal-centered energy, but it's a journey for everybody, right?
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
do you remember when you first reached out to me? Like, where were you? This was a year ago now,
Right.
right? Last spring, the spring before your drama school auditions.
Yeah.
You did not have, I remember you told me you had never seen a play.
hmm
I hope you don't mind me mentioning that.
No, please, please. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, we could cut it if need be.
No,
No,
no, no.
but like, yeah, where were you at? I knew you wanted to get into drama school, but you were just kind of interested in film. I know you had an agent. Talk to us a little bit about where you were at when you decided to audition and reach out.
Yeah, I was kind of in a different situation than most actors going into drama school prep because I'm 24. I was a lot older, and I never did on stage stuff. I was always on camera, and I've had an agent for the last 3 years, and I've been a working actor. But I was in a market where, and I still am in a market where there's a lot of emphasis on just being a working actor and less on the craft, right? So even classes I took, my acting teacher, Lauren O'Quinn she's amazing, and I've learned so much from her. But she teaches how to be a working actor, and she'll even acknowledge it. I don't learn as much about the craft of the acting, and immediately I was like, cool. I'm booking stuff, I'm making money, but this isn't fulfilling to me as an artist. So that's when I started looking into like, well, my favorite actors, what are they doing, right? Like, what routes are they going towards? And drama school was so popular among a lot of the actors that I look up to. So I started looking into it. I was like, drama school. Okay, well, let me check this out. And I saw and I looked on their website, and this was actually like 6 months before I even came to you. I was like, drama school. Let me take a look at this stuff. And I saw the requirements, and I was like, Shakespeare. I have to sing a song. No, I'm not doing that. I don't have no skill. I'm not going to even waste my time. So I just threw it in the trash, and I kind of forgot about it. And I actually wanted to. I pivoted, and I was like, maybe I'll go to like a conservatory, right? Because I don't have to audition. You just pay, and you show up, and they'll teach you. Well, then over time, I was talking to one of my friends, and he was like, man, because the biggest thing for me was singing and Shakespeare. But they're like, you could hire a Shakespeare coach, and they're singing. You don't have to be a good singer. They just want to see you sing through. They act through singing. You know what I'm trying
Right.
to say,
Yeah, yeah,
Anthony.
yeah.
I'm making this more complicated than it needs to be. But so I immediately got this idea. I was like, okay, coaching. I've gone coaching before. Let me just go online, search up coaching. Let me just start there. And immediately, how to get into drama school pops up,
Right,
and I
right.
watched 10 videos. I'd watch a ton of videos on these people and their journeys, and I'm like, oh, okay, this seems attainable. Like this seems like within reach. So that's when I reached out to you, and that's we were off and running after that.
Off and running, dude. Yeah, it was a great conversation. And we had a lot of work to do. But like you were already in the momentum. It's just needed to be channeled, you
hmm
know? So like for you, you talked about Shakespeare, singing. I know you were still exposing yourself to new literature, new plays, new playwrights. What was it for you that I guess you like grew the most in? If you were just to reflect,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
what area did you feel like you have grown the most over the past year?
Shakespeare. I think classical work. I even in my acting classes here in Orlando, I never touched classical stuff. I was scared. Like I don't. even not even Shakespeare. I'm talking about something where I need a English dialect, and it's like Pride and Prejudice. I wouldn't even touch that because I didn't know how to carry myself physically. I didn't know how to use my own voice. I didn't know how to do any of that. So when Shakespeare came and I worked with you guys, especially Gary he's a wizard. That man, he's on a different level. He just understands stuff in a way, and he knows how to communicate it in a way that's just so you could grasp it. Oh my gosh, he's a wizard. But Gary made my Shakespeare game. I'm not saying I'm like some professional now, but I'm saying I grew so much to the point where if I had a choice towards the end, I think if I could pick any two of my monologues, it would have been my two Shakespeare. I wouldn't have touched my contemporary. That's how confident I felt
That's
within
amazing.
myself. Yeah, so it was my Shakespeare by far.
Man, talk about goals for anyone listening. Like someone who has zero Shakespeare experience, right? Working in their drama school auditions in a way that they now want to lead with their Shakespeare pieces because they've
Mhm.
discovered so much. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you feel like the work you would share is really representative of you as an artist. You're not like hiding behind some Shakespeare mask or whatever. Like you really feel like this is who I am, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that was the scariest thing because like I said, going back to the voice and stuff, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, there were so many, I guess, like stereotypical like um presumptions that people would have about Shakespeare where it's like I have to do it in a British dialect and I have to do it this way and I have to be very big and gotta make this very big, but that's not what it is. There's so much truth. It's poetry. It's written so there's so much intention in every line, and it's so beautiful. You don't it doesn't need to be big. You could get off with nuanced choices, and it's just as powerful.
Yeah.
And that's so I learned how to use my own voice and to add some of my on camera stuff, some skills that I've learned on camera, the nuance and stuff. And I was able to put it all together and create Brandon Shakespeare performance, not Anthony Hopkins or somebody that I just watched, Brandon's, which is going to be different from all theirs, but it's just as truthful as as well. I'm not going to put myself against those guys, but you get what I'm trying to say. It
No,
is,
exactly. You're
yeah,
using yourself. You're not trying to imitate. You're not trying to make it
right.
look or sound like someone else. You want to show these schools, just for everyone listening, you obviously want to show these schools like this is who I am. This is how I see the world. This is my humor. This is my intelligence. This is my feel, you know?
Mhm. Yeah,
And you feel like
absolutely.
you discovered that. And the work is never done. I'm sure if you went another round of auditions and we'd work on some more stuff, you'd find new
Mhm.
layers.
Mhm.
But you really took huge strides. I'm super proud of you. So let's talk about some of the stuff you worked on. What monologues did you choose? I know you changed, even late in the process.
So,
But
my God.
tell us a little bit about your monologue finding journey. Where did you even search for monologues? What was your response to the material? What did you land on?
So, at first, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do a monologue that anyone else has heard of. I'm going to find something super obscure, and because I don't want to be compared to anybody else. So that's where I spent, and to be quite honest, wasted most of my time because sure you could find some diamond in the rough like pieces no one has done, but there's a reason why people are doing This Is Our Youth. There's a reason why people are doing, Death of a Salesman. They're rich and deep pieces that you could go far with. So I realized that, okay, well, let me get off this weird website that no one has ever heard of. And let me just go to the list that Anthony, you sent me a very good list of contemporary Shakespeare stuff. And at that point, I was like, screw it. I'm just going to pick from here. And I picked all my pieces from that list. It saved me time. It saved me stress. And I knew every single one of those because I respect your guys' opinion, has been not approved, right? But like, um, in your eyes, there's something to work with, right? So I don't have to be self conscious where it's like, is this piece working? Like, so I picked all my pieces from that list, and I ended up with, uh, I did Iago, which by the way, I picked Iago because I for some reason thought nobody else was going to do Iago, and then there's like four people in my UNCSA class in the group chat that's like, we all did the same monologue, so and we all got in. So I guess there's
That's
a
amazing.
isn't
I
that
love
crazy?
that. I
Yeah.
love that. It's
Um,
not about the piece.
right.
It's about your relationship to the piece. Their relationship to Iago, unique to them.
Hmm.
Just like we really got to work deeply on this one with you, like it's your Iago. You've already said this, but I just want to reiterate because it's so important for people who are scared of overdone monologues or whatever. Like, no, just what is the monologue and do you resonate with it? If so, trust that and keep working.
Absolutely.
All right, continue.
Absolutely, yes. So I did. It was "Thus Do I Ever Make My Fool My Purse." Very nice monologue, and then I did uh, "Friends, Romans, Countrymen." I did Antony from Julius Caesar, and then I did "This Is Our Youth." I did, and then I did "Doubt," which and I'm sorry, "This Is Our Youth." I did just so I can be specific because I know sometimes I watch these videos and I want to be like, oh, which one though? You did this play, but I did Dennis's monologue where he's talking to Stewie on the phone, which that monologue was, and maybe we could touch on this later. I dissected that monologue and I had to like Frankenstein it together because it was all over the phone and it wasn't working. So and then Doubt I did, which was completely out of my age and type, but I actually think it was one of the pieces that got me into UNCSA. It was the last piece I did. So yes.
I'm interested in hearing this. Let's go a little bit deeper into the monologue situation. So
Yeah.
talk briefly about cutting your monologue and
Mhm.
stitching something together because we often find something that may have another character interjecting a line inside of
Mhm.
it or whatever, so or on the phone and having to
Mhm.
make it make sense because you're not auditioning for the play.
Right.
You're just supposed to put a monologue together that, has a beginning, middle, and end and feels like a thing you can use as a platform for who you are. How did you stitch this together? What was your challenge?
Well, I actually didn't stitch it together. I'm not gonna lie, Gabby did. Because I did it with Gabby, who's one of the coaches. And I remember doing it in front of Gabby and I felt good. I did it and I was like, wow, man, I'm getting into drama school. This was so good. And Gabby cut me off and she was like, this is not working. Because the problem is, who are you talking to? And I was like, well, I'm talking to Stewie on the phone. Isn't that obvious? And she's like, no, no, I get that. But your energy is just all over the place because you have no one to direct it to. So she was like, let's cut it. And we took out so much and we had to replace so much of it. Was a completely different story to the point where when I had to explain it in the room every time, I could see their faces being like, did I? Has it really been that long since I've read This Is Our Youth? I don't remember the scene at all because we dissected it and then we brought it all together. And at the end of the day, I feel like when you're dissecting a monologue and putting it together, it's easier obviously with contemporary because everyone knows Shakespeare, at least the people that you're going to go and perform to. I think it's so important to make sure, like you said, there is a beginning, middle, and end, and make sure that each line flows. Because if you say a line and the next line doesn't make sense, you're done. It just
Yeah.
doesn't make any. Yeah. So we did a very Gab. I say we. I'm taking no credit for this. Gabby did a wonderful job of dissecting it, and she actually emailed it to me later. And I read it, and I was like, "Oh, this is perfect." And it was very smooth. I do have to say, and I do want to warn some people. I actually feel like "This Is Our Youth" was my strongest monologue, but I would not do it again because of the fact that it required too much on it required too much. What's the word? Like I'm saying a line and I'm waiting and then I react off a response that's not there. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Where it's
yeah.
like too much of that where as an actor, someone who does on camera, and a lot of actors do this, obviously. I am an actor who likes to work a lot off of what the other person gives me. So for me to sit here and act like, or I didn't use a phone, but to sit here and act like you just said something to me and then have a reaction that's I'm artificially creating this fake reaction. It didn't feel good. And it made me get in my head because I'm like, is this reaction, does this seem real enough in the I'd be in my head while performing it because obviously I'm responding to something that this imaginary character just said to me, and it was just I'm being really messy right now, but that's just how I felt in the
Oh, it
monologue.
makes sense. And everybody has the sort of guidance. And then what I kind of want, people to focus on here is Brandon had that guidance of, don't do necessarily a monologue where you're actually waiting for someone to respond in order to continue your monologue. It should feel like one outpouring from one character to another.
Mhm.
Brandon already knew that. Brandon also already knew, a lot of other recommendations around monologues and stuff. But once you know the recommendations and you know the sort of box that we recommend playing in the sand, then you can just feel free to break a rule. here or there, if it's conducive to your process. If there's something as you go along in your process where you're like, all right, yeah, I think we really need to go with this cutting, or I think we really need to like play off of the imaginary person. You're not, at least you're not doing it unknowingly. You know, and I think that's where, so if you say it was your strongest piece, and yet sometimes you didn't feel good with it, or you weren't really sure about the whole playing off of an imaginary person thing, why do you think it was your strongest piece?
And I'll tell you right now, and this is the reason why I stuck with it, because Dennis is me. I read it and I was like, this is the way I talk. This is literally how I talk to my friends. This is me. So I didn't care about, I mean, obviously it was a problem, but I didn't care about that small hump. I was like, I'll get over it. We'll figure it out in the moment, which I don't know. I probably shouldn't say this, and I don't recommend this to people, but it was so me that there'd be times in the audition where I'd be such in a flow, I'd almost be improvising. Where if you asked me to do the piece the same way again, like the same words, I wouldn't be able to because I'm adding stuff that I really shouldn't be adding to, but it would kill it in the room. It was like I was doing a
Right.
stand-up routine. So I connected so much with Dennis to the point where I I was okay with the little hump. Now,
Hmm. Hmm.
obviously, though, like I said, and I'm not trying to repeat this again, but this is very important. There would be times where I would go through the monologue, I would get to the part where I'm supposed to have a reaction, I do the reaction, and in the back of my head, I don't believe it. So now I'm screwed for the rest of the monologue because now I'm in my head being like, let's throw it away because now I feel like I'm not. It doesn't feel real to me. So that was the problem, and that did happen in some of my auditions. But when it was hot, Anthony, it was hot, and I was on fire. So yeah,
Yeah, I know. You would call me sometimes afterwards and be like, I killed it. I killed it.
absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
it's good. It's great. And so let's talk about, we'll go into the audition rooms and find out
Mhm.
how it went for you. I want to get into that journey. But give us the sort of uh, stats. How many schools did you
Yeah,
audition for?
yeah,
If you don't mind sharing the names of the schools, and did you have any more monologues than the four you mentioned? Let's get the schools and monologues out there.
yeah. So I did. So I also forgot my song. The song that I prepared was "Suddenly Seymour" from Little Shop of Horrors. And I only auditioned for four schools, and there was actually a reason for that, and I'll touch on that a little later. It was UNCSA and Juilliard; those were the two American schools, and then RADA and Lambda were the two London schools. And the biggest reason why and let me tell you the stats, like you said. I got I think you were saying is it end of day callbacks for Juilliard,
Yep.
and then I got final callback for Lambda, obviously got into UNCSA. Then I got to RADA. I'm in the final round, which I'm going to politely decline because I have committed to UNCSA. But it was a very hard 4 round process, and I feel so grateful to even be in the last round. It's in London, and it would be a really cool workshop. But I obviously already committed to UNCSA, and I'm so excited to go there. So I had a really good. I at least got one callback in every audition, which was I'm very grateful for. But yeah, I only auditioned for four schools for two big reasons. Number one, and I remember this is something kind of personal, but I remember talking to you about it. I got really sick during the fall, where I was like, I lost like 80 pounds in 3 months. It was crazy. I went through like some serious health issues, and it put a pause on all my drama school stuff and my work and everything. So I really didn't financially and like mentally, I was like, there's no way I could do more than four schools, especially because I don't live in New York where they're coming to me. It's like I got to go fly out to these places. Um, and I also want to touch on the medical stuff a little later, Anthony, because it affected my preparation, and we could talk about that later.
Yeah, we will for sure.
Um, but I
That's why
uh,
four schools.
So yeah, so there four schools, and another reason why was because of I was sick and it was last minute for me to schedule these schools. I They were like they weren't together, so they were stretched out over a month, and so I had to fly to New York like four times and get a hotel four times. I was like, financially, it just doesn't make any sense. So
Hmm.
I only did four schools. Do I recommend doing more? Absolutely, because I mean, you get some warm-ups in. My first audition was Juilliard. I've never done theater. I've never done anything. And my first audition in person, because ever since I've been an on-camera actor, Everything's been on self tape. My first in person audition ever was in Juilliard. So as you could tell, I was I'm trying to choose my language very carefully. Because I was very scared. Obviously, I was very nervous, and I would definitely recommend having some warm up auditions. I know you said audition for schools that you're only okay with going to. Low key, I kind of wish I'd throw in a couple of schools that I didn't care about at all, just because so I could get some. It's like in baseball. You're on deck and you're getting a couple of swings in. That I want
Getting
the
your
rooster
reps
notes.
in. Yep.
Yes, getting our reps in. I wish I would have done that. I didn't do that, but yeah, that was the reason why I only auditioned for 4 schools.
Right. And I think I really appreciate you just sharing transparently your story. That's what's most important is somebody got into drama school. Brandon, you got into drama school. How? What is your unique story? There is no one way to do
Uh-huh.
it. Right. So this is really great. Um, let's talk about the preparation because that
Yeah,
is really what ultimately leads to you feeling confident in your work or you really ultimately sharing good quality work in the room, despite maybe how you're scared that day or despite whatever's going on for you, is the quality of your prep. And it had struggles, right? You had the health thing during your prep.
yeah.
You kind of there was a lot of ups and downs. Nobody has like a perfect journey. So tell us like some of the start with the highest point and the lowest point of your prep. Can you think of the high and the low?
I think the highest point of my prep. Hmm.
Best part of your prep, worst part of your prep.
You know what's weird, Anthony? And this is probably just the self-conscious actor in me. I don't remember a high. I constantly remember walking away from like coaching sessions and just time with myself being like, I don't know what I'm doing. I genuinely do not know what I'm doing. And I there'd be times where I would walk away and I'd be like, cool, I just worked with Gary. I solved that problem. Let's go, right? Like I feel good. And then I'll go back to my notes and I'll be like, oh wait, now I have like 40 other questions. So now I'm in my head about that. I would always just find more things to stress about, which it's probably just the actor in me that just feels so self-conscious about my work, which I should trust myself. I mean, look at the results that I had. Um, but if I had to pick one high point, I guess my prep, it wasn't so much my prep, but during my process was after my UNCSA audition. I still had a couple more auditions to go, but I felt so good about where my pieces were. That was probably the highest point for me. Whether I got in or not, I felt good about what I brought into the room, and I was like, cool, I could let it go. And honestly, I kind of let a lot of my pieces go and just trusted myself for the rest of my process instead of hyper fixating on stuff and sitting in my room for hours. So that was
Isn't
my
that
highest point. Say that again.
isn't
I'm
that
sorry.
isn't that such a good feeling
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. It felt so good.
when you're like, just trust it and like it's just gonna be what it is.
Right. Right.
Well,
Absolutely. That
you
was my
don't you
highest point.
it takes a while to earn that, but
Hmm.
so lowest point.
I think my lowest point was when I got really sick because what happened, and I don't think I ever told you this, Anthony, but when I got sick, so obviously we start talking in May. I wasted about 2 or 3 months looking through those monologues that I had no business looking through. So I read a lot of plays, but I was never going to touch any of them. I found Iago and I was working on Iago for a couple weeks, and I felt internally it was not working. I was like, this is not going to work. Then immediately I got sick. Those 3 months of just torture. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't look at my monologues, and it was approaching Juilliard's date, and I still only had Iago at this point, Anthony. And I'll tell you how close I got. I went and I got like procedure. I came out the surgery center, and I only had one monologue down. It was Iago, and I didn't feel strong about that. I didn't even feel strong about the monologue. And I looked at when my Juilliard audition was. Anthony, I swear to you, it was like in exactly a week, and I had one monologue down.
You
Um,
definitely did not tell me this.
yes, I
I do
was.
remember you having some new pieces or whatever within a
Yes,
week or two,
I
which
came
sometimes happens. But yeah,
right. So I was like, but I came out of that the medical center feeling way better now. Obviously, I was still sick, but we got some stuff. I was like, okay, now for the next week, it's time to work. And in my head, I flipped it where I was like, you know what? 7 days for an on-camera actor, that is, we get 48-hour, 24-hour notices, 7 days. I'm gonna get to work. So I sat down, and this is our youth. I got Friends Romans Countrymen, and I did coachings over that week, and I was pounding it, and I was just figuring everything out. Then this is crazy. 2 days before Juilliard, I was like, oh, I need another contemporary. I completely forgot. So I added doubt. I didn't even read the play, Anthony. I didn't do nothing. But this is sometimes life hits and you just gotta go, you know what I mean? So I'm the opposite of some people. Some people, you watch these videos and like, I've been prepping since a year ago. Or John is like, I've had this piece since I don't even, years.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not that guy. That was not my situation. I had to just pick up the piece and um yeah, kind of just trust my instincts and work. That's what I did. So I grabbed my stuff, went to Juilliard. And Juilliard and UNCSA was within a week of each other. And in both those auditions, I was just so sick still. And in every room, I was like, don't throw up, don't throw up. That's how sick I was. And I was battling that plus I just learned my pieces a week ago. And yeah, it ended up working out. But that was definitely the lowest point of my prep. But I do want to say with prep though, I think sometimes, Anthony, depends on the actor. I feel like sometimes it's better for you to do that. Not
Of
wait till the
course.
last minute, but it causes you to just not overthink stuff and do the bare bones of what do I want in the scene? What are my actions? Boom. That's all I have time for. Learn the lines. And at that point, trust your instincts instead of I've done it for a year and now I know I'm going to say this line the same way as I did 6 months ago because that's just the way I've been rehearsing it. So sometimes I think there's some pros and cons to it. Obviously, not to the extent of 2 days, like for doubt before Juilliard. Like we definitely there's a happy medium, but yeah.
No, I agree entirely. I try to communicate this to everybody. You are unique in the way you approach a big audition, in the way you respond to material, in the way that you handle feedback from coaching and what you do on your own. You're unique. There's no one way that we could prescribe how many months of preparation do you need, or how many hours a day should you work. You know, the progress on the pieces do usually come in swells and valleys. Sometimes it does feel like you're in a drought of inspiration, or sometimes it feels like you're in just a fountain of inspiration, and you're just like, wow. And some people, yeah, they really do a lot of crazy stuff in the days leading up, but some people don't respond to that. Some people need to feel like they've thought deeply about the material, they've let it marinate, and then they just want to keep their routine as the day arrives so that they don't feel out of sorts. Everybody still gets into drama school. You know what I'm saying? All those different types of people get into drama school. Why? Because they're honoring what they need. And that's what you did. You
Mhm.
honored what you need. And we, as your coach, we're obviously providing an environment where whenever you needed a session, we were there. Or whenever you felt like you needed to touch base with Gary or whatever, like we're available for you, but we're not here to tell you, you know, yeah. Obviously, if you would have told me a week out of Juilliard, you were like, I got one piece, I don't know what to do, but I would have been like, okay, man. Okay. We are where we are, but you did the right thing. You just bared down,
Yeah.
you know? And you're right. For somebody who does have a lot of preparation like you with film and stuff like this, 7 days feels like an eternity,
Mhm.
you know? Other people who don't have film training or professional experience or an agent and stuff like this, that they would have blown it.
Absolutely. I think that's where the experience and everyone's different. And that's why I think if I were to give advice to anyone is take acting classes because if you think you're just going to show up, throw some money at Anthony and be like, yo, Anthony, help me. You do no work at home you're not going to drama school. You're not, you got to put in the work and grow as an artist individually and grow by yourself because drama drama school is not guaranteed. You know what I mean? You're not guaranteed to go, so you got to figure out a way to grow. If drama school isn't an option, drama school is a nice luxury to have, but you got to find different ways to grow individually, and that could be acting classes, books, and you got to always be ready because acting is, when was it preparation beats, I mean, meets, I don't, what it,
I don't know. There is a
time, whatever. Yeah,
right?
people get it. Yeah, yeah.
But you're
You
right.
got to
Readiness.
right, right. You just got to be prepared. So take acting classes, and you got to want it. If Anthony and how to get into drama school wants it more than you, you're not going to drama school. So you got to stay ready and you got to prepare. And yeah, so you were
So
gonna,
tell me, I agree with all that, of course.
yeah,
Um, as you know, we only invite people into our coaching who
mhm,
already kind of have that artistic engine running.
right,
Um, but yeah, we think that's very important, and you should always. It's good for your resume for these drama schools. It's good for your own like life expansion. Take advantage of opportunities to grow. You know, that's just that period.
yeah.
So you felt confident after the UNCSA audition. You feel really good about, all these other schools. Tell us what happened in the room.
Oh my gosh, Anthony. So I I'm gonna tell you a little lead up. So I got rejected by Juilliard. I felt really, it's weird because I felt good about my Juilliard when it was down to like 10 of us or whatever. Room clears, 10 of us. I'm like, I felt good. I was like, I feel good about my work. Go in there. My name's not on the list at the end for the they don't, I don't get the whatever, like whatever the next process is. I wasn't on there. I was devastated just because I was like, man, I felt very good about that. What does that mean about my art, right? Like if I felt good about that audition, well, what is going to happen with UNCSA? And UNCSA was my top option. That was my top. That's why I wanted to go, like financially, alumni, who they were. I mean, what they were teaching, teachers, everything. I was like, UNCSA is my number one choice. So I had to really lock in the week before and prepare. Especially now, technically, I had an extra week to work on my monologues. Um, so I was preparing, and I get back to New York. And oh my gosh, I remember walking in and it was completely different than Juilliard because already it's so intimate. Like there's like I think 20 of us. It feels like this is the callback. First of all, there's parents there. Juilliard didn't allow parents, and Juilliard felt like a cattle call. Like just come in and find a seat. There's a chair somewhere. If not, we have steps. Like that's what it felt like. UNCSA there was chairs and it was a small like dance studio, and I already felt very good about everything. And I saw Quinn, and when I saw Quinn, it felt like I saw Robert De Niro or something. Because I saw Quinn, you interview Quinn, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Quinn Gordon. I've seen that video like 50 times. I'll be doing dishes and I have it in my like manifesting it. And I saw John there, who's the new dean,
Right.
and they just kind of spent an hour talking about the program, which I'm not gonna lie, I knew everything they were saying because Quinn, you had such a great interview, Anthony, with Quinn talking about UNCSA. So I knew what I was getting myself into. And we finished our little hour meeting, and he was like, okay, so we're just gonna have your name on a list and we're gonna go down and I'll call each one of you guys in. And oh my gosh, just thinking about it, like I'm getting stressed thinking about it because I was so nervous because I wanted to go to UNCSA so bad, Anthony. I but I had to relax. I had to calm down. So I was walking around. I had headphones in, and I already felt out of sorts too because when I was at Juilliard, it was a combination of MFA and BFA people. So there were people older than me there, but at UNCSA, it was just the BFA students. So there were like kids. They're 17-year-old kids with their parents, and the parents are looking at me like, where's his kid, right? Like they thought I was a parent. That's what I felt like. I was sitting there with like my beard, and I felt way older than everybody, the other students, and I just felt so out of sorts. And but I found a way to calm myself. I walked around, I trusted myself, and eventually it felt like forever. Compared to Juilliard, I was there all day, and I waited like 5 hours before my first audition because I was at the very bottom. UNCSA, it was like an hour max. And I walk in there, and oh my gosh, I'm this is so scary to even talk about, Anthony. This is bringing back memories. I
Bringing it
walk in
out,
there,
bringing it back.
yes, and there's two chairs in front of John and Quinn, and they sit me down. They're like, so name and my height. I was like, okay, my height. That's interesting, but okay. So I say my name and I say my height, and they're like, cool. And what pieces will you be performing? And I tell them, and they were they said, cool. Can you do them? So it was cool. So uh I did one of my classical and I did one of my contemporary. I did This Is Our Youth and I think Iago. So I did This Is Our Youth in Iago and I felt fine. I felt really good because the energy that they were giving off, they didn't say anything, but it felt warm. I was like, okay, that felt good. Very good. Then he was like, do you have another Shakespeare? I actually think I did all four of my pieces. They asked me to do another Shakespeare piece. I did Friends, Romans, Countrymen. That felt really powerful. Super powerful. So now I feel like we're fishing, okay? I'm dangling the bait and they're biting, okay? I feel so good. And then you know what they hit me with, Anthony? Quinn hits me with this. All right, so can you sing your song? Now, let me tell you something, Anthony. At this point, I had not sung my song. Uh, I can't sing at all. So when he says this, in my head, I'm like, all right, well, it was fun while it lasted. That was about to get rejected. He's about to expel me from the school. I'm not even in their program, but I felt like I was about to get kicked out. I was so nervous, and I sang my song. And when I tell you, bad is not even a word. It doesn't even describe how bad I did. It was horrendous. It
How
was
was it horrendous? Did you jump around? Did you not move at all? Were you
no
paralyzed? Was it just terrible voice? What?
combination of terrible voice, and I was self-conscious about my terrible voice. So I kind of just stood there and I didn't move, not acting through the song. And in my head, I'm like, I'm screwing up, just push through the end. And I got to the end, and I saw Quinn hit me with one of these. He was like, okay, you know what? Actually, do you have another model we can see?
He's like,
So
I really, really want to keep you around, but
right.
hard to justify after that. Let's go back to the monologue.
So thank God they gave me that chance because oh my gosh, it was so bad. And they're like, can you do your monologue? I was like, cool, let me do doubt. Keep in mind, I've not worked on doubt at all. I've just gotten the lines
I did
down.
not even know you did doubt. This is the
Yeah,
first time I'm learning you did doubt.
I barely knew I did doubt because I didn't do any research on doubt. I didn't read doubt. I nothing. I didn't know. I knew like I picked it because Philip Seymour Hoffman's one of my favorite actors. I knew he did it. And I was like, if Philip Seymour Hoffman does it, then it'll be good enough for me. It was out of my range. Didn't know what was happening, but I was like, you know what, Brandon? We're here. They obviously like me. They're asking to see stuff from me. If they weren't interested, I would have been out. So they asked me to do it. I composed myself, and I just really grounded myself, and it was completely different than my other pieces. I showed a different side of myself, and uh, it felt so good. And they were like, "Great, sit down." And I was like, "Cool." And right when I finished out, I was like, "Oh, I feel like I'm in, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm not. Let's just go through this interview. I still have the interview process. I'm only halfway through." So I finished my monologues. Anthony felt very good. I sit down, and I'm not gonna lie, Anthony. If I didn't get in with my monologues, I got in with my interview. I cooked in that interview.
You were feeling it. You were
Oh
feeling
my gosh. Immediately they were like, what are your hobbies? And I got into like, I'm really into sports. I'm from Seattle. My favorite team's the Seattle Seahawks. And immediately John, the new dean, he was like, I'm sorry, man. And I was like, oh, are you not a Seahawks fan or something? He was like, no, I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm from Seattle too. And we immediately bonded. We immediately connected. We started talking. It was not about acting anymore. We were talking about sports. And Quinn was like, not saying anything, but he was observing us. And you could tell he was like, okay, I could tell there's a little something here. And that loosened me up. They asked me what my weaknesses were. And um, advice for some people, don't lie about your weaknesses. They want to hear weaknesses. That's why you're going to drama school. If you say no weaknesses, they're gonna be like, why are you coming to drama school then? Why are you here? Right? So I probably named 20 weaknesses. And thank God they asked me about my weaknesses because I was able to go into like, I don't know how to use my voice. I don't know how to sing. No consistent emotional access. Don't know classical work. Script analysis is inconsistent. And I went down like just a whole list. And they're like, okay, cool. And we were able to talk about that for a little bit.
might be a
But I
big
was
task.
Right, right. They're like, maybe, yeah, maybe it was they were hesitating for a second. I'm sure it seemed like a tall order, but they were cool with it at the end. So I told them all my weaknesses, and it was like, cool. Well, thank you. And I was like, that was it. And I immediately got in my head because I was thinking about the first, I think the first UNCSA video you posted. Is it Ariel? I don't know how to
Ariel.
pronounce Ariel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, he was talking about in his audition, because I'm the same age as him. Like when he auditioned, he was talking about how they asked him, they're like, so you're going to be in a class with a bunch of younger people. Are you going to be okay with that? Well, I wasn't asked that question. So immediately in my head, it went from this high of like, I did great to my self esteem dropped because I was like, oh my gosh, they didn't ask me that. That's the question they ask if they want you. For some reason, that was in my head. So I was like, what? Wow. And I was so bummed, which I'm an idiot. Why would I think that? For some reason, that I just connected it and I was,
No, it
yeah,
makes sense. It makes sense. We
yeah,
can't explain logically why we feel all the emotional roller coaster of the auditions. But yeah, you're in it. It's like
right,
they didn't ask you that question. You're like, oh man,
right.
we had this. Now
So I was bummed.
you're told you're just done, right?
Yeah, so they're like, thank you. And I left. I was like, man, like I was bummed. I felt good about it, but also I had some doubt because of that. And there was something else that happened or didn't happen where Ariel also said, Quinn called him 3 weeks before. It's like, I have a spot for you. I could have a spot for you. You're in consideration. I'll call you no matter what. That never happened to me. So I was like, Quinn just hates me. I didn't get that. So in my head, I was like, all this stuff that happened to Ariel, I'm like trying to follow the steps and copy the exact route. And I was like, it's not happening. I'm not going to UNCSA. Which is so, guys, do not compare. Do not compare your story to my story. Compared to no one else's because they're all different and you will get in your head and you will stress yourself out for no reason. So
So true. So true.
that was the room. I don't know if you had questions about the room. That was
That's
a
great.
messy. I got
No,
messy
I
with
just
that.
wanted to
But
hear kind of what your experience was and what adjustments they asked you for,
Mhm.
the song, the extra monologue of the interview. Yeah. You never know what is going to occur in those rooms or how long you're going to spend in those rooms. Sometimes they see what they need to see, and that's it.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're like, let's see if we can play a little bit more. I want to see if we can, how, usually they want to know, first of all, like, does this person have chops, right?
yeah,
Am I being emotionally moved, or is there some sort of compelling story being shared by, like, can this person really um, act? And then also, if they're applying to our drama school, aka a training environment, can they train? Can we give them some direction? Can we see, right? If they can even like shift, or are they just so stuck in their ways and their pre-planned performance that they're going to deliver a auto robot package of a performance that they've already prepared? We don't want that. We want someone who's like living and breathing and living through an experience and like feeling like the first time as best that they can. And then I think the other thing is, is this person bringing their own humanity to bear? Like, or are we watching someone perform? I'm a great actor. You should want, or is it like, does this person have anything to offer besides being an actor? Are they a human? You know? Um, so I think you really kind of showed range with your material, you know? I
yeah,
think obviously you showed some chops. And I think also you were showing genuine Brandon.
yeah.
Hey, this is my weaknesses. Right? You didn't stop yourself or try to control yourself or try to like put a mask on and yeah, you were just like,
Right.
"Eh, there you go."
And which sometimes I do want to say doesn't always go in your favor. And this is why interviews are so important because I'm not going to touch on it too much, but I didn't get into Lambda because I don't think they were interested in Brandon. I think I felt like that was my best audition. And actually, the final note that someone in that room gave me was, uh, wow, you talk a lot. That was their final note. And I was like, wow, okay, that did not go well. And there were some other things that happened in there, but Brandon could tend to be a little bit messy. You could probably see I like bounce around. I get super excited about this stuff. But that's why, interviews and all this stuff is important because it's
Gotta
ultimately it's a
feel.
fit.
It's
You
a
got
fit.
for both sides. So yeah,
100%. Yeah. And so there you are, everybody, listening to someone who is, it's not just theory, because we
Mhm.
always hear that. You're
Yeah,
auditioning them as much as they're auditioning you, blah, blah, blah. Sure, it's true though. You
yeah,
will feel like something about this environment. You'll be like, oh, I liked UNCSA.
right.
The way I felt when I walked in the room, the vibe of the people, the chemistry we had, it felt like a fit, or something magical happened in my work when those people worked with me.
Yeah,
So, anyway, I think it's great, man. I really appreciate you sharing always so
yeah.
genuinely. Um, so what happened when did you find out for real?
Oh my gosh. So they told us first week of March, and I was telling I hate traveling. I'm gonna start with that. I hate traveling, and I was having to keep. I went up to New York, I think like 6 times, including with the callbacks and stuff. It was horrendous. Um, and I was telling my friends, and I was telling my mom that it was approaching the first week of March, and that my Lambda audition was like the end of February. And I was telling him, I was like, Mom, if my Lambda final callback, and I was still very interested in Lambda, but I was like, Mom, I swear to you, if Quinn Gordon calls me right now, I'm not going to New York for that final call. Like if he called, because I know they call for the when he tells you get in, and I was like, I'm not going to New York. I'll just cancel everything. I'll commit to UNCSA right now. And it was approaching March, and nothing. Obviously, he said the first week of March, so I was like, fine, all right, you know what? I'm going to Lambda, I guess. I'm going to New York. So I go up to New York, do my final callback. I fly back, and I think it was the day after that final callback, and I get back to Orlando. I was sleeping, and I woke up, and it was like 9:30 a.m. And I just woke up, no alarm or anything, right? I think I slept in because of the flight or something. So I woke up. It was like my body just knew something was about to happen. I'm setting this up really good. This is just stick with me, okay? So it's like 9:30. I wake up. For some reason, I go to my phone. Probably because I'm a early 20s idiot that's addicted to, right? So I open my phone up. It's a habit. And I know I never get a call from Winston-Salem. Who lives in Winston-Salem? There's like 20 people in Winston-Salem. No one ever calls me from there, okay? And I knew that, Quinn calls from there, right? So it's like I'm on my phone, and then I get a call, and I see Winston Salem on it, and I drop my phone, and I'm like, no. I was like, no way right now. I was like, and I was scrambling because I dropped my phone. I was like, oh my gosh. I grabbed it, and I was so scared to answer this call, Anthony. I was so scared because it was also at the end of February. It wasn't the beginning of March like they said.
Oh, okay,
So it
okay.
was even earlier. So in my head, I was like, there's a chance this isn't even them. So calm down. And I answer, and I'm like, I'm going to use this pen. I'm going to use this pen. I was like, hello? And I hear, hey, is this Brandon? And I'm like, yeah. And in my head, I was thinking, if this is a scam call, I'm about to pull a Liam Neeson. I will find you. You're not safe. I know you live in Winston Salem now. And he's like, hey, this is Quinn Gordon at UNCSA. And immediately I lost it. I got so emotional. I heard Quinn Gordon and I lost it. I'm not gonna lie, I don't even remember anything else he said. He said, I'm Quinn Gordon, and something along the lines of like, I'd like to welcome you to the drama program. And it was very competitive. We only took 30, there was only 30 spots and over 900 applicants. And we love your talent. We love the person that you are, and you're gonna grow with us. And we can't wait to see the artist. Something along the lines of that. Like I said, I don't remember what he said because I was just finished
You
after
were
that.
just finished.
Finished. But it was, this is going to sound crazy. Maybe top five happiest moments. Like there's like the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl was pretty nice for me. And this are like two of the greatest moments of my life. It just felt like it, it just, I don't know how to explain. If you feel so validated and like, I think I'm doing something right with my life, especially as an artist when you don't know your parents or there's outside people like, get a real job. What are you doing? No, you're not going to become an actor. You can't get into drama school. How many people? 900 people. They take 30. Good luck. You're 24. You're older than everybody else. They don't want you. It felt so validating where it's like, okay, I'm doing something right. because obviously if I'm one of the 30 and I'm getting final callbacks at all these places, I'm doing something right, and it felt so validating, and just oh my gosh, overwhelmed with joy, and like I was so blessed, and yeah, oh my gosh, it was
Yeah,
such an
you
amazing.
will never forget that moment.
Oh my gosh, no, I wish I would have recorded it honestly,
I know.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
some people these days, if they're with a buddy,
yeah,
sometimes they'll be like, film,
yeah,
film. I've gotten a couple of those from our students. But it's the feeling. It's not
mhm,
it's not the words or what you did, right? It's just that feeling.
right,
So fun, man. So
yeah,
fun.
absolutely,
Wow. So I'm trying to backtrack. You've shared everything. I mean, look, how you prepared, the ups and downs. Um, what I'd like to ask you about, this is kind of random, just as I kind of
yeah,
reflect on what you shared. I want to go a little bit deeper into Shakespeare because some
please,
people really don't either know how important that is, uh, and or they do feel wobbly with Shakespeare. So, like, can you share maybe like one or two light bulbs that went off
mhm,
for you with Shakespeare throughout this process and why you developed such, you went on a real journey with Shakespeare, like from no
yeah.
confidence to a lot of confidence with it. Like, what are one or two light bulbs that went off for you about how to play Shakespeare genuinely? When did that happen?
Yeah, well, I think number one is I think I was able to let go of it and be free when I talked to Gary, and I think I don't remember the exact line, but there was something that was happening on the line, and Gary's like, what do you think this means?" And I was, I'm making something up, but it's like something along the lines where I'm like, I think this means that he's sad. And he's like, really, that's interesting because most people say that he's happy in this moment. And I'm like, oh my gosh, does that mean I'm wrong? He's like, no, no. If you anything works because no one really knows what Shakespeare meant. This has been written so long ago. There's not like a definitive. So if you feel it, just commit to that choice, and something honest will come out. And that gave me permission to be like, oh, okay. So this isn't like algebra where I could get this question wrong. Like as long as I commit and understand what's happening and what I'm saying, there's no wrong answer. That gave me so much freedom to own it because man, in the beginning, I'm so self-conscious. I was more self-conscious to do my pieces in front of you guys, honestly, because obviously you guys know what you're talking about. And I was self-conscious doing it in front of the panelists or whatever you want to call them too, because in my head, I'm thinking, oh, they're gonna sniff a weakness. They're gonna see that I've never done this before. And I got so in my head about it because I thought there was a right and wrong, but there's not. So once I was able to own it and be like, there's no right and wrong, make a choice, commit to it, and you're never going to be wrong. That helped me a lot. And also watching it. I'm a big movie guy, so I would put on Kenneth Branagh does a bunch of stuff. I thought weirdly Romeo and Juliet, Baz Luhrmann's with Leo and Claire Danes. I thought that helped me a lot because it was like a modern version. It was less big theatrical. There was some of that, but it felt so grounded in like a contemporary way. That helped me a lot. Riz Ahmed he has a monologue on Shakespeare, and it's it's a self tape. It's this type. He doesn't move. He just says the words with certain intention, and there's a lot of nuanced choices. It works. So watching it and saying, "Oh, you could do this anyway," helped me realize that, like I said, going back to it, you don't have to speak to the crowd and do this and this. That you don't got to do that. There's different form. There's honesty comes in, every different types of
Mediums, yeah.
yeah, mediums, different mediums. So that helped. Those two
Brilliant.
things were
That's
so
brilliant.
important. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's so well said. And yeah, it's very permission giving.
Hmm.
Um, very cool, man. Wow. The journey has been awesome, and unique, you know. Um, Obviously the results are fantastic. You know,
Yeah. I
it
do want to say anything. I'm sorry. I want to say something that was weird that I don't know if anyone else has gone through this, but I didn't get one piece of direction throughout any of my auditions, any of my callbacks. No one asked me to change anything, which was really weird.
really in the rounds with Lambda and Rada.
Nothing. There was, for example, I had Juilliard was very jarring for me because I got called back. The students were talking to me. Actually, I think it was like Eddie. It was like some of the people that worked with you guys before, and
Yeah, 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 for sure.
they were like, listen, bro, get your pieces ready, get all of them ready, and get ready to do adjustments. Because when you walk in that callback room right now, they're gonna throw stuff at you. I was like, I'm ready. I went in, and they just asked me to do the same monologues that I already did. No new pieces, no singing, no adjustments, and they said thank you, and then I was cut. So I was like, whoa, that kind of that hurt my feelings because I was like, oh, I didn't even feel like I had a chance. You didn't even you. What was the point of calling me back if you're just gonna ask me to do the same thing?
That's
So
weird.
that was really weird, and I was a little butthurt about it. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like disrespected as an artist. Like you at least throw me a bone and give me a direction or something to see what I could do. Lambda, nothing. Lambda, there was no direction, and I was fully expecting it. I actually there was one. They just asked me to sit on my hands. They wanted me to sit down and do it, but no like different action or like different like
Yeah, focus.
yeah,
Right.
nothing. And then Rada, nothing. Like there was none of that. And UNCSA, no direction, no callback, just they nothing.
Well,
So
look,
that
man, I
was
mean, you put yourself out there pretty generously.
yeah.
Well, maybe they're just seeing what they need to see. I don't know.
They're like, we've seen enough of this guy, all
I
right?
have never heard of no direction, no direction, but at the same time, I don't know what else to say. Everybody's unique. You just got to prepare the way you feel is best for you,
Mhm,
and only you know that answer,
mhm.
you know. And then you also have to deal with all the life things that come at you too, because
Yeah.
inevitably throughout this process, like you shared with the health scare, there's things that you don't even know are coming,
Mhm.
and you basically just have to sort of manage life and the drama school audition and everything and the application submission deadline and all that stuff. You have to kind of manage it all. So hopefully you have support throughout. That's
Absolutely.
obviously what it's all about. What I know you've given a lot of great advice, but like these people who are listening really want to get into a top school. You're
Mhm.
you're going to a top school. You're going to an amazing school. I mean, the most world-class faculty want to work at UNCSA. They're waiting. You know, the best film coach probably in the world, Bob Krakauer, right? Is working with UNCSA students.
Right.
They have more showcases than any other school, so they get exposure to the film market and the whole profession. Atlanta, Chicago, New York, and no other school does that. So I mean, it's just such a special place with incredible alumni. People who are listening to this want to go to that type of place. They're serious, just like you are. What would you say is, I don't know, you've given so much gold, but like, do you have anything else?
I have something I have a piece of advice that actually was passed down to me from Gary.
Oh, great.
And I will share it. I'm not going to gatekeep this. Take it or leave it. Okay. Obviously, everything that I said you could take or leave. But this is what Gary told me, and it kind of made sense to me. I sat down with Gary and I was like, Gary, I went to Juilliard and I did so much in my first audition, and then I came to my second, and maybe because I did so much in my first audition in the callback, I had nothing else to give. And that's maybe why they didn't want to see anything else, because they felt like I had nothing else to give. And he was like, you know what? Here's some advice for you. When you're in an audition, in the first audition, right? They're just trying to see who's competent. Like they're gonna weed out the people that aren't serious, right? They're gonna weed out the people with, unfortunately, maybe they're not prepared or a bunch of stuff, right? And they just want to see, okay, do you know what you're saying? Are you making choices? Do you have some, unfortunately, this is how it works, any top school, do you have some talent, some natural talent? And preparation, right? They just want to see that package. You don't need to go in there and put in an Oscar worthy performance. So in the first audition, he said, is give them a little taste, make nuanced choices, make them curious, so then you could get to that callback. Because he said, he put the analogy he used was like a restaurant. He was like, if you're going to a fancy restaurant, I'm not going to throw out that 20-ounce steak on the first course because I know I got 8 other courses for you. I'm going to space everything out, and I'm going to make you excited about those final courses. Gary, he was so specific with his language. But so he said in the first audition, really focus on being specific on your choices, make nuanced choices and nuanced decisions. And once you're once, once you're objective, and then leave it up to them at that point. And he said most of the time, if you did your prep, you're going to get a callback. Now in that callback, you didn't show all your cards, right? So now you still have some stuff that you could show off in that room, and at that point you could kind of let it go. I thought that was interesting. I don't think necessarily you have to follow that, but it was just interesting to hear him say that you don't have to go, all out in that first audition. Just show that you're meant to be there, and in that callback, when you get deeper in the interviews and deeper in the work, at that point, let lay the cards out on the table. I thought that was
Mhm.
interesting. Nobody has to take
Really great.
that, but it was interesting to what he said.
Yeah, I think that's really great. And it's definitely kind of another way of saying the same thing that we all say. I mean, look, Gary's on our staff, so he
Mhm.
shares our mind. We learned from Gary. Gary has been in the same rooms we've been, so we all kind of have the same, but we say it in a way that's like, you know, um, you have all this like willingness to play, you have this like readiness to take direction and all that stuff. You don't need to tell them that. You don't need to project
Mhm.
that. All you need to focus on is the quality of your work.
Mhm.
If you focus on the quality of your work, meaning, like you said, make strong choices, be bold, and make specific choices, and then shut up and listen to
Mhm.
what they want. If they don't want anything else, great. If they want to see a song, just do the song. Don't be like, okay, you want the song, and also I want you to know this, and try to shove anything else
Mhm.
in there in that first audition. It's like just focus on sharing the work.
Mhm.
That was what happened to me too. Like they asked me to do two pieces. Of course, I did the two pieces. They said, "Okay, thanks." I,
Oh,
Thank you. I didn't know if I would ever see them again, but they saw what they needed to see, I guess. And now my name's on the callback sheet, and we did so much more stuff in the callback. I didn't
right.
know what was gonna, but you know what I'm saying? So same exact thing, and that's brilliant advice. I love that he uses the steak.
You're right.
Because these auditors, he's been on the other side of the table for thousands of auditions, Gary Logan
Mhm.
has. And so he knows like it's really kind of annoying if someone is trying to push their agenda and do a bunch of stuff when really all we need to see is what we saw in the first 2 minutes.
Right.
Then we'll talk about having more time with you and doing other stuff later. So anyway, that's great.
Yeah, Gary, he helped me so much, and I mean, he sat down with me, and we spent like a 3 hour session. I booked back to. He said it was like this has never happened, and we like. I didn't know anything about scansion, and I was like, Gary, we're doing no acting today. I want you to teach me scansion for 3 hours, and he was like, done. And I understood scansion at a different level. I went from nothing, not knowing and being lost, and to the point where I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing scansion, to doing it on plays that I wasn't even doing because it felt fun to just figure it out. It felt like a game almost. So he's brilliant. You guys were brilliant, and Anila and Daniel, I worked with them. I worked with a bunch of people, but they really helped me stretch my muscles and keep them warm, which is very important, obviously, to keep the piece alive in the room.
Good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff. Dude, so proud of you.
Oh, oh, dude, I feel so great, and I feel very excited to um be with a bunch of talented people. I mean,
I,
going to the accepted students weekend and seeing a lot of great singers. Anything, I don't know how that's going to go, and seeing a lot of great actors.
you're
And
gonna pick up on it. You're gonna
right,
pick up
right,
on it.
they'll teach me.
Yeah,
But I have a very talented group of people that I'm going to be growing with, so I'm very excited.
that is awesome, man. Thank you for sharing. Was this nice to reflect?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's of course I got in, so it was nice to reflect.
Yeah,
It was
right.
a little stressful at some points because putting yourself back in the room is very scary. It feels like sense memory in a way, where it's like I walked in and you smell the room, and oh my gosh, it's scary but rewarding. And I think you guys got to enjoy the process because I'm actually kind of sad that it's over, and I'm already kind of looking towards MFA. I'm not gonna lie, already. I've even done my BFA because I want to just go and
You will
audition
not.
again.
No, I promise you will not.
Okay. Okay. Well, enjoy it. Everybody should enjoy the
You
process.
really
It's a lot of
should.
fun.
Exactly. Exactly. So good, man. Well, I'm sure we'll have you back on for something in the future. And obviously you and me we'll stay connected. We're here for you, man. We support you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Anthony. It was great.
Okay. We'll talk soon, Brandon.
Absolutely. Take it easy.
Hey, have a good one.